You have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Miami Dolphins. I love this matchup. I'm very intrigued by it. Let me just get you the fantasy football starters. Mahomes, yes. Edwards-Helaire was kind of like a coach's decision. If you don't know about it, I read up on it this morning. He had a virus. He lost some weight. They just weren't sure how he would hold up in the game, so Bell got the touches. You would think Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be back. It wasn't like a COVID thing. He just had a virus this week, so you would think he'll be back. I would start Edwards-Helaire, but I'll start the running back there, even if Edwards-Helaire is inactive. Wide receivers, Hill, yes. Oh gosh, I have a down projection of Sammy Watkins, which means you got to flip your coin between Demarcus Robinson and Hardman there. Frankly, I'd stay away from him, and of course, you start Travis Kelce if you can. Now, Miami. Look, I like the way Tua plays football, but he's a young quarterback. He holds onto the football. I like that he gives his wide receivers chances, but to me, this is a running back and 2 tight end offense with an occasional red zone opportunity and a fade opportunity for Devontae Parker. For that reason, I start Gaskin. I actually am more on the, you got to look at starting Gesicki, almost like you are with Tunyon, David. I mean, he's just producing with them, and you got the other guy, Shaheen, too. I mean, they're all getting red zone looks every single week. So, I mean, you got to go with the odds there. If you're really desperate at tight end, you could look for for the tight ends that are getting red zone looks. That's where your points are coming from this season. And Devontae Parker, I'm gonna hold. If you can find a better option, I'm not gonna start Devontae Parker this week, and I wouldn't start Tua, by the way, either in this matchup this week. What do you think, David?
Yeah, it's tough, man, because I feel like I got to apologize a little bit with how much I was hyping up Tua. And after that first game, he looked good. Mm-hmm. Even though he didn't put up big stats, he looked good playing. He protected the ball, and they won. And I wanted to just lump him in with the other rookie quarterbacks, Burrow and Herbert, who have been playing great football this year. And it's not to say Tua's not playing great football right now, or at least pretty good, decent football. But it's just a completely different situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing good.
About.
Yeah, he's playing good quarterback. You like him as an NFL bettor, but from a fantasy football, if you're in fantasy football playoffs, I mean, he's not producing for you. So, I mean, it really is two different things. I really am very encouraged because, like, a lot of people, when they see our videos, David, they bang us and call us fantasy football geeks and all that stuff. And sometimes the two are different, and I think Tua is a case where it's different. I think he's playing great quarterback, great leadership, and I think he's taking the right chances and stuff, and he's not turning the ball over. That's great with his defense and stuff. But sometimes the two things are the same thing, where like you statistically suck because you actually suck. But I don't think that's the case with Tua, man. What is he? Is it's like 4th or 5th start or something like that? Like I really think next year, dude, I think he's going to really take off. This year, I think he's kind of learning on the job, and that's what you get with young quarterbacks.
Yeah, this will be a 6 star, and I don't know which comments you're looking at in this section, but I've only seen the ones that have called me an absolute genius and thanked me for all the wonderful calls I've made.
That's funny because I haven't seen a single one of them.
So you're not looking in the right places, Sean. Obviously. No, I think we've gotten some overall. I think I don't look at the comments too much just because
don't.
Because no matter how good you do, people are going to say bad things.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I've noticed some very good reception to our podcast. I'm proud of the reception we've got. Let's just put it that way. So you're not going to beat me down on that one, Sean. Get back to what matters. Tua. The defense is just so good in Miami. It's not the situation like Cincinnati, LA. They don't need to pass. Maybe this week against Kansas City, but Kansas City, you'd think in these come from behind game scripts that quarterbacks would be putting up the fantasy points against Kansas City, constantly losing, playing in the second half, having to pass. But Kansas City is like 12th right now in fewest fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. They're just decent defense, and they're getting after quarterbacks though, and they're making it tough for them to score points. So Tua, I mean, unfortunately, I don't want to say he is a drop, but you can drop him because you're not starting him
in a redraft, not in a dynasty.
Obviously,
yeah.
In a redraft. And then week 15 against New England, we talked about New England's defense, how well they're playing in their history against rookie quarterbacks. You're not playing them the next 2 weeks. The only way to hold Tua is if you're planning to play him week 16 against Las Vegas. That's the only value, unfortunately, he has the rest of the season, I think.
Yep. Hey, David, we lost your camera if you want to play with that while I kind of dig up. I was looking at Miami versus Cincinnati. I was making a pick, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with that game. And surprisingly, so we talk about Miami and their defense and how strong that defense is. And I really like the way they're playing, but they do give up yardage. which is interesting as well. Like they're kind of in the middle of the league in terms of yards per play, which is a key stat. We got you back, David. Awesome. So that's a key stat, but Miami also, man, the turnovers they generate, the big plays, the sacks, and all that stuff. So although they're good, they're going to get better next year. This year against Kansas City, I like the way Kansas City plays. Let me hit you with the line. David, Bovada has Kansas City minus 7.5 versus Miami. On the road at Miami. Who would you take here?
This is tough. This is going to be a big test for Tua because I believe the defense can play well and they can keep Mahomes and Kelsey and Hill in check a little bit. I don't know if Tua's going to be able to get it. We'll see. I'm going to bet on Tua. I'm going to bet on the Dolphins keeping it close and covering the spread.
You know, Kansas City just isn't wowing me at this point. They aren't hitting their potential. They're freaking, what are they, 10-1, 11-1 now?
They look uninterested in the regular season. They're ready to get to the playoffs.
They do look uninterested. They should have, I mean, flattened the Denver Broncos last night. And it was good that the defense played well. I mean, don't get me wrong. And that's the biggest question mark, but they just look uninterested. I think Kansas City, I think this is a possibility where Miami could upset, but I think Miami is dependent on turnovers, and Kansas City really, I mean, Mahomes takes care of the ball too, everybody. So I think Kansas City does enough to win. I think it's within a touchdown. My personal rule, do not bet against Patrick Mahomes. I'm not going to do it, but for this podcast, we make a pick. I think Miami, I think Kansas City is going to win this game somewhere in the 4 to 6 point range. So I would take Miami for the pick. I'm not going to bet my money on it. That's where I land. Next game on the list, we got